This isn't the video where I'm going to tell you to stop buying bottled water or don't purchase pre-cut vegetables. And although those will save you money, these are tips that can help you make a larger impact. I want to dig a little bit deeper and not just give you surface level information. We're going to get down to specifics, to details, to some numbers. So if you're ready to get started, let's go. The first one we're going to talk about is to remove shopping apps from your phone. And yes, before you ask, that includes Amazon. What happens is when you're bored or maybe sad, feeling a little down about whatever's happening in the world, or perhaps you have very little willpower left after the day you've had, is these shopping apps are so easy and accessible that they could spell trouble. Trouble. What happens when we go shopping is it gives you a quick dopamine hit, that quick boost of your mood. And then after that, it kind of goes away. Then you get the credit card bill and your mood is absolutely squashed again because you go, what in the world did I do? There is an article from businessinsider.com written by Jen Glantz. The title of this article is I deleted 4 types of apps from my phone in 2020 and it helped me save over $1,000. Now I'm going to link this article down below for you to read because it's a very interesting read. But I want to point out one piece from this article. The writer mentions here that I started to see that over 75% of my purchases made through app shopping were things that weren't essential. I'd often head to those apps for one important item like toilet paper or towels and end up filling up the cart with a bunch of other things I didn't need. Removing these apps is like adding a speed bump. If you've ever driven on a road and seen a speed bump, you've had to realize, oop, I need to slow down a bit. This does the same thing. We make bad decisions in weak moments. So one way to counteract that is to remove them from being so easily accessible. The second one I want to talk about is stop trying to get rich quick. Rental property schemes, investment scams. You see this so much now, especially with social media, and it really burns my bottom, the people who take advantage and make it seem so easy. Being in the financial space, I see this a lot. I see the ads and the get rich quick schemes. People try to spam my comment section with them all the time. They prey on the vulnerable. And what I would like for people to understand is that most wealth is gained and kept through long-term action and planning. I ran across an article that, from Money Under 30 called 7 Get Rich Quick Schemes Targeting Young People, written by Chris Butch. The writer states that according to the FTC, Americans have lost $610 million in income illusions since 2016, and $150 million of that was in the first 9 months of 2020 alone. The writer goes on to list common signs of get rich quick schemes. I want to mention 2 for the purpose of this video. And the first is a promise or guarantee of income. The second is hyperbolic marketing language, such as like achieve your dreams, become your own boss. Again, things that will prey on those looking to get out from under the thumb of a boss who makes their life miserable, those who are in that vulnerable position. It's an interesting article, so I will link it below if you want to check it out and read it in its entirety. And the third one, I want to talk about debt. Recently, I was speaking to someone I know fairly well, and he finally felt comfortable opening about him and his wife's financial situation. The current situation is that they have 2 car loans and student loans totaling $70,000. And what they've been doing is putting extra payments towards all of their debts, including their mortgage. So they put extra towards each car payment, they'll put extra towards the student loans, they'll put extra towards the house instead of lumping it all together. In this part, number 3, I want to talk about when you're paying off debt, why you should throw all of your principal at one debt at a time. The thing with what the person I was speaking to is doing is paying those extra payments towards everything doesn't feel like the needle is moving very quickly. It doesn't feel like you're actually making progress. And in order to continue doing something, a lot of times we need that motivation of momentum of seeing progress. You may have heard of 2 popular ways to pay off debt quickly. The first one is the snowball method, which was made popular by the Dave Ramsey plan. That is where you pay your smallest debt first and your largest debt last. So you list them in order of amounts. Then there's the avalanche method, which is where you pay the one with the highest interest amount. So let's say you have a credit card payment for 22% interest, then you have a car loan for 7% interest, and then you have student loans for 2% interest. You would pay them in that order. Now, the reason that the snowball method is so popular is because it gives you quick wins, which helps speed up your momentum. It tends to help people stay committed to the debt payoff. I mean, we all want to see our hard work pay off, and the quicker the better. But the purpose of my tip here is not to point you towards one or the other as far as methods. It's to know that they both have the same principle, as far as the principle being your payment, whichever one is at the top of your list, all of your extra money goes towards that one. And then the rest of them, you just make minimum payments. So once that top one is paid off, you take whatever you were paying towards that one and you add it to the next one. What that means is basically, let's say you were making a $300 payment to the first debt. First debt gets paid off. Your second debt, the minimum payment's already $200. You take that $300 you were paying on debt one, combine it with the minimum on debt two, that's $500, and so you started paying $500 a month towards debt two. And then it keeps going from there. What happens by the time you get to your last debt is you've got this huge chunk of money that you've been paying out, all the same amount, that's going towards your debt. So that momentum and that snowball starts to get bigger and bigger. This next one is one of my favorite and just saved me 65% on an item just last week. And it is my Amazon price change hack. And yes, the first one that I talked about as far as tips in this video was to remove shopping apps, including Amazon, from your phone. That doesn't mean you can't go onto your computer and you're intentionally looking at Amazon.com with good intentions to making sure it's in your budget. But on to the tip and how I saved 65% on an item. Now, I do this combining two frugal tips that I've already given out on this channel. And that first one is to put items in your cart, go shopping, fill the cart up. I'm talking online, not out at a store, because it's not very nice to go and do what I'm about to say at a store. You don't want to fill your cart up and then just leave it in the middle of the aisle. Not good, not nice to the employees that work there. But online, by all means, fill that cart up, leave it, move on. Leave it alone, close out, go do something else. Go finish that pile of laundry. What you're gonna realize is a lot of times that scratches that itch of that shopping that you wanted to do. The second tip that it does here is you're gonna wait. You're gonna see if you still want it. This is what you call the 24-hour or the 48-hour rule. In the case of Amazon, what I do is put things in my cart that I may want. And then what I do is click Save for Later. I have had things in my Save for Later cart for weeks, even months. Now, after this, I will periodically go and check my Save for Later items. Sometimes I see, I no longer need that thing. Oh, look, I found that at the store the other day for a lot lower than this price. And then sometimes I hit gold. This last week, I came across and saw that the price was drastically lower than an item. That is the point of this tip. You're going to wait until the price goes down. And if you're familiar with Amazon, you know that the prices change as often as some people change socks. The big thing that I do this with is my daughter's clothing. Okay, she is, the legs are getting longer, she is growing, it is a growth spurt. We all know they grow out of their clothes, you need to replenish. Well, there is a particular brand of clothing that I can find on Amazon, and because the store that used to be close by closed up, but I can still find the brand on Amazon. I know it's quality items and I know her size. Recently, her leggings went on sale. They had previously been $19.99 last fall. When I was checking my Amazon last week, I saw them for $6.99. I very quickly knew that was a rock bottom price. So with fall coming up, I went ahead and ordered 5 pair in a larger length or size and ended up paying $35 on something that originally cost $100. That was a deal. The next one I want to talk about is consuming less in general all over the place. Now you can probably assume that over mankind's time, we have consumed more and more as we've grown and progressed in the world. However, over the last 80 years, it's been a lot. It's compounded very quickly. What happened? Well, there's many ideas as far as what happened and how this came about. But one is to think about back to right after World War II ended. And so remember that the Great Depression was the decade prior, and after World War II ended in the 40s, based on what I have read, at no other point in time has consumption of things and goods skyrocketed the way it has in the last 80 years, specifically with debt. Now, credit has been around for a long time, but the credit card in particular is considered to have been first created or used or, manifested in 1950. Finally, we were able to get the things that only the well-off could get before. We could finally keep up. This has caused consuming to be a way of life. It has become so much easier. And when something is so ingrained in you, it is extremely hard to do the unconventional thing, which is unconsume or consume less, especially when you are constantly having ads shoved in your face like you need the latest and greatest thing. So think about you. Where could you consume less in life? I'll give you an idea. Maybe you consume less TV so you can go to bed earlier, wake up in time to be able to pack your breakfast, lunch, and snacks for the day, so you also consume less takeout. The thing with consuming less is you aren't doing without. You are limiting yourself, but still being able to enjoy that thing. I recently decided to consume less or not at all a few things. Now, the first one was little to no TV. The second was to take shorter showers. And the third was to consume zero soda, which I had fallen back into a bad habit of within the last year. All in an effort to save time, money, and improve my health. So what is it that you think offhand immediately you know you can consume less of? Put it down in the comments. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Number 6 is to stop signing up for subscription services just because they are a free trial or they seem cheap. Now, I completely understand that subscription services aren't going away anytime soon, but there are ways to reduce waste, keep track of them, and only sign up for the ones you will truly use. If you aren't diligent, these things start to add up and they can be scattered all over the place. You might see charges on your credit card statement and not even tell where or what they are, where they belong, because the parent company of the company it has doesn't show up right and you don't recognize it on the credit card bill, or it's some abbreviation of the company that doesn't match anything you have a subscription for. Most of these are small amounts where you have free trials, which you just forget about canceling. I mean, you know how they happen. So perhaps you were laying in bed one night, trying to sleep, having a moment of insomnia, looking at something, you were trying to watch some random video, a prompt came up and your bleary-eyed self just said, oh yeah, okay, I'll agree, yes. Unbeknownst to you, you just did something within Google, connected to Google Play, and you signed up for a free 30-day trial, and then $999 later, every single month, you go, what? When did that happen? Here is what I recommend regarding subscriptions and how to keep them under control. The first one is to list them all out. You're going to keep a list maybe on your Google Notes app. You're going to keep exactly what they are. You're going to keep the cost of them, the username, the password, everything you want to put down. You're going to go through this list once a month when you do your budget. Are there any that you're no longer using? Are there any you're not seeing the benefit to match the cost of? The third thing is if you see a new subscription in the future that you want to sign up for, because again, as I said, I don't see a world where we're getting away from subscriptions anytime soon. Okay, maybe there's a free trial. Take whatever that date is. Let's say it's a 15-day trial. Take that date and put it into your Google Calendar reminder, or put it on your written calendar, however it is that you keep track of things. What you're going to do is when that reminder comes up, you're going to go in and decide if you want to cancel it so you aren't hit with that first billing. Let me just tell you here, beware, because canceling these subscriptions is a bit like being in one of those mystery escape rooms. Have you ever been in one? I did one recently for the first time and it was a ball of fun. We did it as a company event, but it is a bit like that. Good luck finding the cancel button or getting a live person. This next one, I want you to hear me out. You might go, well, Jennifer, that's only going to save pennies. No, hear me out on this one. Would you like to get back 30 hours a year in time? Shorten your showers by using a timer on your phone, or do as I do and count while you're in there. This saves way more than just water cost. And now I know, it's nice to have a nice long hot shower, linger, think about life, have an epiphany about something you forgot to do. Make this an occasional occurrence though. Yes, showering for a shorter time may immediately seem like a trivial way to help on the road to being wealthy, but hear me out. Of course, there is the obvious water that you save. Water in, water out also. You don't just pay for water in, you pay for water out. It's called water and sewer. Second, you save on electricity from the water heater. third, and the most important, is time. This one, it can save so much time. When I added it up, I was astounded. So I had recently read about this counting thing in a book, and it said all the time wasted during the shower, and I realized I was doing it. So I'm now counting. I know exactly how long it takes me to do it all in the shower and get out. Consider this. The EPA website says that the average shower is 8 minutes. Let's just say you cut your shower down to 3 minutes. I can shave, wash myself, and wash my hair in under 2, but for the sake of this argument, we'll say 3 minutes. That saves you 5 minutes per shower. Now, if you shower once a day, every single day of the year, that is 30 hours per week you just got back. Time is money. When you say I don't have enough time to start that side hustle, go for a workout, something as small as wasted time in the shower is costing you 30 hours a year. What other small leaks could you get back more time? What other things are you doing that isn't the most time efficient? The next one I want to talk about is paying for premiums in full, specifically insurance premiums in this case. When you pay in installments, you're paying a fee to do so. Pay in a lump sum. If you are currently paying monthly, pull up that bill, see what that fee is that you're paying every month. It should be listed out. I found an article called Should You Pay Car Insurance in Full or Monthly, written by Taylor Medline on Experian.com. I will link it down below, but I want to point out one thing from the article. It says that according to Zebra, an insurance company website, the drivers who paid in full saved an average of 4.7%. Now, perhaps you don't have that cash flow yet to be able to outlay that policy premium. This is one of those items that you can call a sinking fund, or I prefer to call it a reserve fund, where you're putting aside money so that each month, so that you can pay the full amount when it comes up. You may have to do this if you pay quarterly taxes. This takes looking at your premium, figuring out how much it is when the policy renews, and seeing how much you have to save each month so you can pay that policy in full. Once you've done that, let's say you've got 6 months left till it renews and you need to save, $50 a month. Once you've done that, you got that money, you pay that policy up front or in full, then the following year you can take that amount and divide it by 12 full months. That way it's a smaller amount, but again, you're reserving it every single month. This next one is a quick one. Really smart, money-minded people budget, no matter what their income is. They treat it like a business. You cannot reduce your expenses if you don't know your financial status, your financial situation, if you don't know your income and your expenses. The budget is a plan. You get nowhere without a plan. You're flailing around in the distance. The tips here are to be realistic about it. Yes, you can move money around. It's your budget. You decide. That's the best part. Give yourself about 90 days. That's how long it takes to moderately get it accurate or about on track. No one's budget is ever 100% accurate. There's often one area under and another. Life happens. With this next one, I'm going to tell you a story that is about 2.5 years old. 2.5 years in the making. And it is to appeal unjust property tax. Any of my original subscribers remember the story. I was very irate at the time when I originally discussed it, and several of you have asked over the years if we ever got it cleared up. The incredibly long, boring, because let's face it, taxes are boring, long story short, was we received in the mail a huge increase in our property assessment in the summer of 2021. For our county, that's when the assessment comes out, the estimate on your home, and then you get the bill. The increase was $89,700 on a house we paid $345,000 for. So with that big of a percentage increase, my husband and I are big researchers. We dug and dug. We found where the county was not assessing our home at the same rate as other homes in our neighborhood that they themselves categorized us as being in. It was black and white. It was right there. It was on a piece of paper we found from the county. We even gave them their written proof. If they had assessed us at the same rate as these homes that they themselves categorized us at, the increase would have only been $72,100. I say only, it's still a lot, but it's not the larger amount. So we weren't fighting the bulk of this increase. We understand we have to pay our fair share. Okay, we get it. We were fighting the inconsistent categorization. We were fighting $17,600. So we followed the process. We appealed in writing, denied. We appealed in a meeting before the county, denied. The last step was to appeal to the state. We did. That part lasted well over a year, 2.5 years, as I stated. They thought we would go away, that we would back down, that we wouldn't put the time into it. At this point, it was personal. Finally, we had a hearing date in our state capitol in May of 2023. After paying the increased amount for 2021 and 2022, we had to pay while we were going through this appeals process. In April of 2023, 1 month prior to the hearing, we were contacted by the county attorney. They reached out to us with a settlement. They wanted to see, first of all, everything we were presenting at our hearing to the state. Shortly after that, they called with that settlement. Their first offer was reducing the amount by $4,400. We said no. At this point, again, it was personal. They tugged us around for 2.5 years. We finally settled with them though. We met in the middle, half and half, a reduction of $8,800. Again, the total difference that we were disputing was $17,600. So they now owe us money for overpaying for 2 years, and they are sending us a big, nice, pretty check with 4% interest. My point is not to give up. This was worth it for us, based on principle, on how they treated us and the fact that they were factually wrong. Number 11, as important as budgeting, a key part of it is you have to track your spending, every single cent. I found an article on Mint.com under 101 budgeting 101, and it was where they had done a survey of over 1,500 people, and they had asked those people in that survey if they knew what they had spent in the previous month. 65% of participants said they don't know how much they spent last month. Let me say that number again, 65%. 2/3 of that 1,500 people didn't know what they spent last month. No idea. Now, okay, perhaps you could say they have enough money. They have so much money they can spend whatever they want and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't affect them. They know they will never be in the red. But that doesn't seem to line up when you hear about percentages of people who cannot cover a $400 emergency. Now, I will be honest, I have tried all the ways of tracking spending. And one thing I always say in this forum is there are a plethora of advice or ways to do things. Take a little bit from each of them and make your own. I will tell you this, I've tried it all when it comes to tracking. I've done the little bitty notebooks, I've done the apps, the Google Notes, and the one thing that I think is the best, it's not a sponsorship from Dave Ramsey, but it's the EveryDollar app. It works well for me. That is the one I have to stick to. I've gone away from it and gone back to it, and it just works well. The thing is, it doesn't matter what you do. If you use a rock and chisel to track your expenses, just choose the method that works for you. The biggest thing is do what you will actually do. Number 12 is to use your spare time to make money. Maybe part of that 30 hours a year you got back from reducing your shower time. Take on a side hustle or a part-time job. Sometimes you can only reduce your expenses so much, right? It's like when you're hot or cold, I mean, you can only take off so many clothes, but you can put on a whole lot more if you're cold. If you are really pinching pennies and hard to live within your means and you just can't make any headway on their debt, then this is the one thing that you might need to do. Think of it as a season. What can you pick up as far as a job or a side hustle that might not impact life too much, but could help you make significant headway in your goals? The job market is still good right now. Part-time jobs are paying pretty well. This next one, also short, but extremely important. I can't stress that enough. It is that you have to be on the same page or relatively within the same chapter with the same goals as your spouse. You can't be going in two different directions. You got to compromise and meet where you both want to go. If you aren't currently having future goal conversations, they can be hard. These conversations will need to be vulnerable. They will need to be full of humility and may not feel natural. Set a date and a time to sit down and put a plan together for your financial future. What does that financial future look like for you both? Number 14 is one of my biggest passions, and it is reading. Now, it hasn't been my passion for my entire life. It wasn't even on my passion list until I was about 32 or 33. The thing about books is they open up your mind. They teach you things you can't find inside of a TV or scrolling social media. Some great people in our lifetimes and prior to our lifetimes have written great books, and I can honestly say that my success over the last decade is related to picking up reading again. Not everything that you're going to read in a nonfiction book is going to stick. It certainly doesn't for me. That's not the goal, and don't think that's going to happen. That isn't the point. If you can take away examples, scenarios, habits, or ideas from each book you read that makes your life better, then that's the point. It may be only one or two things. For example, I read a book over 6 years ago called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. I remember 2 things from that book as far as points that I still do today. The first one was put your phone to bed at night, meaning that thing does not sit by my bed. I put it to bed in the bathroom, away from me. What this does is prevents me from scrolling on it right before bed, which plenty of studies show that it's not good. Second thing it does is I can't hit the snooze button. Gotta get up. And by the time I get to the bathroom, I don't have the point to go back to bed. I've already gone that far of a distance. It's time to get up. The second thing that I learned is what she calls the 5-5-5 rule. When something's really bothering you, something very impactful happens, and you feel as if the world just is going to go to, where in a handbasket. 5-5-5. Will this thing that happened matter in the next 5 minutes? Probably. Will this thing matter in the next 5 months? Maybe, maybe not. Will this thing matter in the next 5 years? Most likely not. The thing is, you don't know what you don't know. The next one that I want to recommend is, if you haven't already, or maybe you've just heard about it in passing, look into minimalism. Now listen, I am not a minimalist. I thought I was for a bit, but then I realized I wasn't over time. It's kind of gone through a fad in the last 5 years or so. But that doesn't mean that you can't learn from the principles that minimalism talks about. Some of the concepts from minimalist content have really stuck with me, specifically those regarding questions you ask yourself before you buy something. Like, do you really truly love this? Not just the typical, do you need this? Do you really truly love it? Do you know where this will go in your home? Is there an alternative? So if you're interested in get started to learn more about minimalism, I'll give you a few recommendations, some books, movies. The first is The Minimalist Home. It's a book by Joshua Becker. He also has a YouTube channel you can check out. The other is the one that actually got me started within it, and it is the Minimalism Documentary by Joshua Fields Melbourne and Ryan Nicodemus, and you should still be able to find it on Netflix. Number 16 is to put your debt or money goals in your face. What this means is creating a visual representation of your debt or your money goal, which you can use to track yourself. I want to show you what we use, and it is this paper right here. I'm trying not to get a glare off the lights. This is our house payoff tracker. It stays on our fridge, and it shows how much we've paid off on our house. This is a great way to keep that motivation. You can also do what I call a goal board, but you may have heard of it called a vision board. Now the tracker helps you stay engaged. It shows your progress, which gives you the motivation to keep up that momentum. By keeping your goals in your face with the tracker, or also with the vision or goal board, you walk out the door and realize that you're going to make the financial decisions each day. It's a reminder that you're going to make those financial decisions, that you're telling your future self that you are important. You're saying, I am going to stick to the goals I know I want to reach. Number 17 is a one-word sentence, and that is no. And again, it is a one-word sentence which does not require an explanation. When you are an adult and you choose to live for yourself, stick to your goals and dreams, and realize peer pressure is still a thing even in your older age, you find the power in the word no. Of course, there are reasons to choose the word no throughout your entire day, but what are some examples of how this works with your financial goals and with money in general? Some examples might be someone saying, let's all go out after work for drinks. No thank you, I'm going to get home to spend time with my family. Or maybe your family says, let's all rent this huge beach house for the week. It will cost each family $1,500. No thank you, I love you all, but we currently have a few financial goals we are working hard on, and those are a priority for us right now. Make sure you send us some pics from all the fun you have. Maybe it's, would you like to sign up for the store credit card today? No thank you. The second part of that, because it's never just asked once, you could save 20%. No thank you, all you need to say on that one. Finally, number 18. If you stuck around, click on that like button. Thank you for being here. This one is to stop using excuses or rationalizing bad habits in your head. I had a 7th grade math teacher. Every time someone had an excuse for not bringing in their homework, he made them write many times one of these 2 sayings regarding excuses on the board. I never had to write them, but I remember them exactly. The first was, excuses are tools of incompetence used to build monuments of nothing. And the second was, excuses are the bricks to build a house of failure. If you're tired of not having enough money, make more, spend less. We can rationalize our way out of a lot of stuff. It has to stop. If you enjoyed this video and you want to share it with others who might find it impactful, who seem like they might need it in this season of life, make sure you share it. Also, YouTube loves it when you click on that like button down below. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you come back for more videos.